Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to this episode of the TED in Your Head podcast. I'm your host, Ted Moreno, certified hypnotherapist, certified clinical hypnotherapist, high performance coach, and explorer of possibility. In this podcast, we seek to liberate ourselves from lack, limitation, and lethargy, so that we can intentionally pursue a powerful path of personal transformation. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what it's all about. Personal transformation done intentionally. Now, it's important to understand that we will transform as we get older. We will change. But the question is, are you going to change in the direction that you want to? Or will you change by default, which means growing older, maybe more cynical, maybe more tired, right? Especially in today's climate or atmosphere. So we seek freedom. Freedom to be able to make the choice to do better, think better, be better. And if that is something that you are interested in, I'll tell you how to make it happen at the end of today's episode. But for now, let's get into today's show, the title of which is The Top 10 Reasons Why You Should Try Hypnotherapy. Yes, a little shameless plug for what I do. Let's get right into it. Number one reason why you should try hypnotherapy: you're already in hypnosis on a daily basis. Why not make it work for you? So we have this thing called suggestibility. It's how we learn. Hypnosis is the ultimate learning state. When we're kids, up until about 8, 9 years old, we are very suggestible. Our minds are open. People will tell us all kinds of stuff like Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy, Easter Bunny, and we'll believe it. That's when we learn a lot because our minds are open. We're very suggestible. That changes about 8, 9 years old. We develop another part of our mind called the critical faculty. What that does, it allows us to ask questions and block incoming information. So we don't learn as quickly because now we have to kind of consider stuff, think about it, judge its merits, and see if it's true. When you are in that state of hypnosis, your mind is once again open to the power of suggestion. And when you go in for a hypnotherapy session, you're telling me, your friendly neighborhood hypnotherapist, I want this to happen. These are my goals. These are the suggestions that I need. So we put you into that hypnotic state, a state of suggestibility, so that your mind becomes open to the suggestions that I will give you based on what you've told me you want. Now, we go into hypnosis every single day of our lives. We're in hypnosis when we first wake up. And how many people, when they first wake up, have negative thoughts of worry or anxiety? So here you are, in a suggestible state, giving yourself negative suggestions. That doesn't work very well. And that's why anxiety and fear and worry have a tendency to become self-reinforcing. Another example of common everyday hypnosis is when you're driving your car and you're not paying attention and you miss your off ramp or miss your turn. You're in a trance state, and it's a fairly benign trance state. Another example would be you close your eyes, you put in your earbuds, you listen to your favorite music, you get carried away by that wonderful feeling of the words and the sounds. A wonderful example of trance. But there are examples that aren't so wonderful. For example, you're overwhelmed, you're stressed, things aren't going your way. This overwhelm can put you into what we might call environmental hypnosis, which is a walking hypnotic state, where again, your mind is thinking all kinds of terrible things like, this sucks. I wish this didn't happen. What's wrong with me? Why did I make that mistake? Blah, blah, blah. And here we are in that suggestible state again, giving ourselves negative suggestions. So, if hypnosis is a natural state, and if hypnosis is the ultimate learning state, why not put it to work for you? So that's reason number one. Reason number two, Hypnotherapy is safe and non-invasive when administered by a professional hypnotherapist such as yours truly. There really aren't any side effects, negative side effects from a hypnotherapy session. Now, that being said, sometimes when people come out of their first hypnotherapy session, they may feel a little headache. That is not common, but it does happen. Or sometimes people feel kind of a little bit out of it because they were in hypnosis. But remember, when you're in hypnosis, you are awake, aware, and fully in control. Now, people with severe mental issues, people with severe trauma, we want to be really careful working with these people using hypnotherapy. In fact, hypnotherapy is not usually recommended at all for people with severe mental disabilities or mental illness. And when working with somebody that has trauma, you need a hypnotherapist that knows about how to work with people in trauma. In addition, many people will come to me and say, "Hey, help me remember this thing that I think happened to me when I was a kid." That's not something I do because what can happen is what's called confabulation. In other words, memories that may or may not be true. So, as a rule, myself as a hypnotherapist, I usually don't help people to access memories that they think they might have had because there's no way of knowing whether these memories are true or not. So, with the exception of these rare examples, hypnotherapy is safe, it's non-invasive, it's natural, and it taps into a natural part of your own ability to learn. That was number two. Number three reason why you should try hypnotherapy, it's not like what you see in TVs and movies. Those television shows and movies, such as the movie Get Out and other similar shows, they're just not good for business. Hey, look, I thought the movie Get Out was awesome, but it's not an accurate representation of how hypnosis works. When you're in hypnosis, you are not under somebody's control. Remember, you're awake, you're aware, you're fully in control. You're hearing everything people are telling you, everything the hypnotherapist is telling you. Many people, when they're in their first hypnotherapy session, they are thinking to themselves, I wonder if I'm really in hypnosis. And if you have that thought, usually means you are. So hypnotherapy uses the tool of hypnosis to create that state of suggestibility. Does that make sense? So when you're in hypnosis, you are hearing everything that's being said. You remember most of what is being told to you in the deeper states of hypnosis. Sometimes there's a little bit of amnesia, but most people, when they come out of hypnosis, feel refreshed, feel good, and feel very, very relaxed. So hypnosis is very, very relaxing when done in a hypnotherapeutic situation. So forget everything you've ever seen on TVs and movies where you are under my control. It's just TVs and movies, okay? So that was number three. Number four, we are accessing the subconscious mind when we do hypnotherapy. So you have two parts of your mind. You have your conscious mind. Let's say that's 12% of your total mind power. Now there's different theories about this. Some people say 10% conscious, 90% subconscious. We're just going to say 12% conscious mind, 88% subconscious mind. So it's the 12% of your mind that has goals, dreams, desires, things you want to accomplish. And it could be that you have in the 88% of your mind things such as associations or beliefs that are contrary to what you want to accomplish. So, for example, let's say 12% of your mind wants to increase your income, make more money. Yet, if at the subconscious level you have beliefs or you've been told that the pursuit of money is sinful or having lots of money is evil, then that 88% will keep you from achieving your goals, dreams, and desires. And using hypnotherapy, we can begin to change those things in that 88% subconscious mind that is not supporting your conscious goals, dreams, and desires. I'm reminded of a very interesting story that I heard when I was in my training at the Hypnotherapy College, HMI. It was about a young woman who went for hypnotherapy sessions because every time she got into a relationship and was very close to making it permanent, such as marriage, she would sabotage it. And this had happened 2 or 3 times, so she went to go seek hypnotherapy. Turns out that she was an actress. She was involved in the movie industry. I think actually she was more of a producer or kind of behind the camera, but she liked to date and go out with actors. Okay. And through investigation and through conversation, it turned out that she remembered that her mother, who had been married to an actor, would tell her when she was very young, whatever you do, don't marry an actor. Whatever you do, don't marry an actor. And she had forgotten about that. Yet, these suggestions were still at play in her subconscious mind, causing her to sabotage any relationship she had with somebody who was acting in front of the camera. So that's a perfect example of somebody that needed the power of suggestion to go in there and change that up so she could have healthier, longer lasting, maybe even more permanent relationships. So that was number 4. We access the subconscious mind using the tool of hypnosis in hypnotherapy. Number 5, hypnotherapy can help you sleep better. And this is something that I'm very interested in and have a lot of experience in. You may have seen the video on YouTube. In fact, you can check it out if you go to tedmoreno.com/insomnia. It's a YouTube video of me working with a flight attendant who was really struggling with insomnia. In fact, there's a current article in the Atlantic magazine. It's an extensive article about the epidemic of sleep problems in our society today, and it is truly a health epidemic. Why does hypnotherapy help you sleep better? The reason is because hypnosis is what is known as a venting state. So when you're in hypnosis, in a hypnotherapeutic situation, your mind and your body has an opportunity to vent out or let go of stress, tension, pressure, and negativity. These are the things that build up in the body that keep people from sleeping. So if you try to go to sleep and you're all wound up and tight and anxious, it's going to be very difficult to sleep. Or if the minute you put your head on the pillow, you have the bad habit of trying to solve the problems in your life, that will keep you from sleeping as well, because that's not a good time to try to solve all your problems. Not only that, but at that time, again, you are very suggestible. Your mind is open right before you fall asleep, so that is not a good time to worry or try to figure out how you're going to solve this big problem. So hypnotherapy allows a person to sleep better, even if that's not what they're coming for. So what I mean by that is I work with a lot of people that are not coming to me necessarily for insomnia, but they'll come into the second or third session and say, well, one thing I notice is I'm sleeping a lot better. And that's because if they're listening to the recording I make for them, then they're having the opportunity to vent out tensions, stresses, anxieties, and fears that could keep a person from sleeping well and in a refreshing manner throughout the night. So that was number 5, increase sleep quality. Number 6, decrease stress and overwhelm. So I want you to think about a boiling pot of water, like a teapot, right? Typically, a teapot has a little cap, and the little cap has a hole in it. And when the water starts boiling, the pressure of the steam goes through that little hole and it makes a noise like a whistling teapot, right? Because pressure is building up inside and that allows the pressure to be released. So there's a certain capacity and there needs to be a release of what is going on inside. The human mind is the same way. We can only take so much stress. We can only take so much tension, so many worries, so many things we have to do before things start getting messy. Like a cup that is already filled, You cannot put more into that cup till you empty out what is already in there. So what hypnotherapy allows a person to do is to vent out and let go of everything that's built up, maybe through the day or from the week or even from the month. So this is called overwhelm, right? When there's too many things to think about, too many things to do, too many things to worry about, and I think we can both agree that our life today is extremely overwhelming. There are so many things we need to be concerned about and think about and worry about, especially if you're watching the news or involved in like what's going on at the highest levels of government. And so when we're overwhelmed, that fight flight response gets triggered. And that's when we start feeling anxiety. We go into what is known as a hyper suggestible state. So, again, a state of hypnosis where we are totally and completely open to not only our negativity, but the negativity of the world around us. Hypnotherapy gives a person, this can happen in 20 minutes, gives a person a chance to vent out and release everything that's been building up. A release of worries, a release of fears, a release of anxiety. This can happen very powerfully in a very short period of time. And the only other time your body has an opportunity to do that is when you're asleep, assuming that you're getting good sleep. So that would be number 6 reason to try hypnotherapy to decrease stress and overwhelm. Number 7, change bad habits. I'm sure you're familiar with people going to a hypnotherapist to quit smoking or lose weight. And these are, in fact, the top 2 reasons why people go to a hypnotherapist to free themselves from nicotine addiction, either smoking or vaping. Plenty of people have come to me for help with quitting marijuana as well as alcohol usage. So letting go of bad habits, nail biting. But bad habits could also be poor habits of thinking, catastrophizing, negative thinking, pessimism. These are all habits of the mind. So habits are considered automatic, subconscious, or unconscious behaviors. Hypnotherapy allows a person to examine these unconscious behaviors, begin to work on changing them, and get the added benefit of new ideas, new behaviors, and new compelling outcomes at the level of the subconscious mind. It's important, I think, at this point to mention the fact that our minds like the known and the familiar. The known and the familiar is safe. What what we know to expect, what we're used to, our minds, our subconscious minds like that. Our minds don't like to change. Change represents something new, something different, something unknown. And our minds will go through a lot to keep us from what is unknown. Our minds do not want to change. So, when you're in hypnosis in a hypnotherapeutic situation, you can visualize, you can imagine, you can pretend what it would be like to achieve your goal, to achieve your outcome. This creates more familiarity in your mind with your outcome or goal. And through the process of repetition and maybe affirmations and power of suggestion and visualization, you can get your mind to become much more comfortable and much more familiar with the things that you want, the outcomes you want to see. And when that happens, your mind starts moving you in that direction because it seeks that known, familiar, and comfortable. And since that's more compelling than what's going on for you right now, you begin to notice that you're thinking in a way that is a success mindset, as well as doing the behaviors and taking actions that move you towards greater success, health, and happiness. And so when we talk about a bad habit, it's familiar and it's comfortable. Hypnotherapy can help you change that. So that was number 7. Number 8, increasing confidence and self-esteem. Confidence and self-esteem. Where do we learn self-esteem? Where do we learn self-value? For most of us, we learn it as children. It is given to us by our caretakers in the way they relate to us, the attention they give us, the things that they tell us. Unfortunately, for many of us, we didn't have the attention that we needed as children. We didn't have the support or encouragement, or maybe even more damaging, we were criticized or told we weren't going to amount to anything, or told maybe, tragically, we're no good. And this is very, very detrimental to our ability to succeed. It's very damaging to our ability to go out there and make our way in the world because the fundamental belief is I'm not going to be able to do anything because I'm a loser, or I'm no good at this, or I'm not smart enough, or whatever the programming at the subconscious mind is. And it can be very powerful if it was repeated for many, many years. We begin to believe it ourselves, even though consciously we may know it's not true. The subconscious mind is where many of these fundamental beliefs are held. And those will dictate and drive and influence our behavior through the power of suggestion. We can increase our self confidence and believe we have the ability and we have the capability and we have the intellect and the resourcefulness to figure stuff out. I know some people, they would say something like, "Oh, I'm going to go backpacking in Europe." And I'd be like, "Oh, where are you going to stay?" And they're like, "I don't know, I'll figure it out." Well, oh, you're going to go with a lot of money? No, I'm going to go with a little bit of money, but I'll get a job there. Well, how are you going to get a job? I'll figure it out. Like, wow, that's never something I would do. Just go backpacking in Europe without a plan, like detailed. But there's a lot of people that are like, no, I'll figure it out. That's the kind of confidence we're looking for. So maybe we don't want to backpack in Europe, but when we try something new or take a risk or even encounter everyday challenges, we have that belief in our mind, you know what? I can figure this out. I have the resources, the intellect, and I'm worth putting time and effort into. And that can be accomplished using the tool of hypnosis in hypnotherapy. So that's number 8. Number 9, we can increase health and well-being. It's almost a cliche that the number one unhealthy thing that we have in our lives is stress. Stress and hypertension. From the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed at night, it's I need to, I've got the schedule, I've got to be here on time. This creates stress and tension in the body. And if you don't have time to take a vacation or you're not in the habit of taking downtime, like I've talked about in many previous podcasts, then that tension, that stress will build up in your body and create a whole host of negative physiological manifestations, backaches, headaches, stomach problems, hypertension, narrowing of arteries, and it may lead to eating habits where you seek to soothe yourself, or drinking habits where you're seeking to medicate yourself from the tension and stress of the day. Hypnotherapy allows us to deal with the challenges of life much more easily, much more calmly. The power of suggestion can help us believe that no problem is insurmountable and that we should and need to take good care of ourselves. Many, many people come to me asking me, please help me take better care of me. Help me get better sleep. Help me eat better. Help me take more time to spend with my loved ones. So increased health and well-being is one of the biggest reasons, if not the biggest reason, why people come to me seeking hypnotherapy. Last but not least, number 10 reason why you should try hypnotherapy is because many, many people that are successful and well known have used it for great success, health, and happiness. If you do a quick search on the internet, famous people that have used hypnosis, there's a whole long list. Now, can't vouch for every name that's out there, but I did do a search on people that have admitted or acknowledged that hypnotherapy has been helpful to them. Some of the names that came up were Adele, the singer, for stage fright and anxiety, Matt Damon for quitting smoking, Tiger Woods for focus and self-belief, and Aaron Eckhart for quitting smoking and drinking. Now, again, this was on the internet. Can't vouch that it's true, and I really don't want to take the time to try to seek the person on video or quote saying that they said this. But there's a whole long list of people. Supposedly Einstein was a big fan of hypnosis, Thomas Edison. So you can go and you can read about a lot of people that have used hypnotherapy and hypnosis for success and health and greater abundance. I would suggest to you, anybody that has closed their eyes and imagined how they want it to be has used hypnosis. That is a form of hypnosis. Mental rehearsal before you go out and perform, or before you go out and involve yourself in an athletic competition. You close your eyes, you imagine hitting the ball, kicking the ball, catching the ball. This is a form of hypnosis. Guided imagery, mental rehearsal, positive visualization. This is just hypnosis by other names. And most people have figured out how to tap into their mind. Most super successful people have figured out a way to tap into their subconscious mind so they can program their own minds for success and abundance. And of course, one of the great ways to do that is learning self-hypnosis, which I highly recommend and may do something in the future about maybe teaching some classes online about that. And if that sounds like something you want to see, please get in touch with me and let me know. So if I get a bunch of people saying, yes, I want to learn self-hypnosis, that would be a huge inducement to me to see if I could make that happen. So there you go. Top 10 reasons that you want to try, at least try, hypnotherapy. Now, if you're listening to this and you already know that and you're already a client of mine, or you've already experienced hypnotherapy, great. Good for you. Pass this along to somebody you know that could use this information. So, that's what I have for you today. I hope you found this helpful. Thank you so much for tuning into my podcast. I went online, I looked at some analytics, and I discovered that in my particular genre, health and wellness, my podcast, Dead in Your Head, is in the top 5% of podcasts in this particular genre. Wow, who would have known? So please leave a comment, leave a review, share this with your social media people. And of course, if you want to hear this podcast instead of watching it, you can do that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, as well as many other. I think it's on Good Pods as well. Of course, you can read this as a blog if you want to actually read the transcript. That's at tedmoreno.com/blog. And last but not least, if you want to get in touch with me, I offer a complimentary half-hour phone consultation. Free. Absolutely. We get to talk about what's going on with you, talk about your goals, dreams, and desires, and how we can make that happen using the tool of hypnotherapy. If that sounds interesting to you, go to tedmoreno.com/contact. Send me a little email. I'll get back to you within a couple of days, more likely 24 hours, to schedule that consultation. And if you're ready, we'll schedule your first hypnotherapy session. I do sessions in person and over Zoom, and I work with people all over the world. So there you go. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Take good care of yourself, and if you can, take good care of someone else as well. Bye now.